Masturbation. It's a word we don't hear or talk about a lot in a church setting. A secular setting with friends, sure, but not in a church setting. It's like some of us religious people get really uncomfortable with the word, as if talking about it or admitting to it will paint us with a scarlet M on our chest and make people talk and whisper about us. But lately I've gotten a lot of questions about masturbation when I go to speak because people are doing it and they're feeling a lot of guilt about it and they want to know what the Bible says. And so I want to address that topic with you today. Hey, I'm Amy Register with Greater Than Rubies, and today I want to tackle the question about whether or not masturbation is a sin. Different denominations respond to that question in different ways. For example, some of my Catholic friends have showed me in the catechism where it says that masturbation is gravely disordered. And then other Protestant denominations say that it's actually beneficial or that it's situational. And so today I want to look at what the Bible says and what we can ascertain from that. You know, there are really only a couple instances in the Bible where emissions of any kind are talked about. In Leviticus, it talks about a man's night emissions. It's not necessarily talking about masturbation. And there's another place in the Bible where they talk about this man named Onan who spilled his seed on the ground, and that was condemned. But if you look at that story, it's not necessarily about him spilling his seed on the ground. It's about wanting the pleasure of having a wife without creating a male heir. So in conclusion, the Bible is generally thought to be silent on this topic. So I want to make this clear. This is my opinion, but because I don't find that the Bible specifically condemns masturbation, I am personally not okay with calling it a sin. Now, what we know is a sin is to entertain lust in our minds. Jesus talks about it in Matthew. Paul talks about the sin of lust. And so we know that if masturbation accompanies lust, that could be the sin, that could be the greater issue. If you think about it, we've been touching ourselves since we were babies. If you've ever hung out with babies, you're always like, oh my goodness, that kid's playing with himself or herself all the time. Is that a sin? I really don't think so. I don't think that exploring your body or feeling good with your body could possibly be a sin. I know it's likely very difficult to separate the concept of masturbation with the concept of lust. So I'm going to leave that to you and a trusted adult in your church or your family to talk that over with. Also, I don't know if I need to mention this, but if you're using any kind of pornography or racy literature as you touch yourself, that's probably lust too and should not have any place in the Christian walk. So here's another opinion. I don't really think there's much to gain by labeling masturbation as a sin or not, although some people feel very strongly the other way, because I think we're missing the point. When you look at why God created sex in the first place, it was kind of the ultimate view of his fidelity, his interest, and his love, bonding love for mankind. And so when we have sex, it is a relational thing. To have solo sex is not necessarily outside of God's plan, but I think his greater purpose is to show the beauty of relationship. Sexuality is designed to be relational. Masturbation, on the other hand, can be isolating, can actually drive you further from the need to relate with your spouse or your significant other. It's almost like you become so independent, which is good on one hand, but you become so independent that you're not even interested in getting married. In conclusion, I just want to say I'm not comfortable endorsing masturbation as a fantastic after-school activity for children. But at the same time, there's no way that I could call the act in itself a sin without looking at the motives and the heart behind it. I don't know your heart or your thought process, but I believe the best way to spend your time is not in habitual masturbation, but in focusing on other-centered activities. To me, this is situational. Next up, what if you are a girl who does habitually masturbate? What if you're worried that you may have an addiction? We'll cover that on the next video.